The latest NBC News polling says a big majority of the country somewhat or strongly disapproves of Trump's actions on border security and immigration. It's 20 points underwater on that. 60% of the country somewhat or strongly disapproving. An even bigger majority of the country says that they want ICE to be reformed or abolished. In that same NBC poll, Trump's approval rating is 22 points underwater. But even at approval levels that bad, that low, Americans' approval of ICE in that poll is even lower than their approval of Trump, which shows that as spectacularly unpopular and reviled as Trump is right now, his favorite issue, his pet issue of being cruel to immigrants is actually an anchor on his own poll numbers. It's actually bringing him down further. There's starting to be a question as to how far down he can go. In the Yahoo YouGov poll, they've got Trump's approval 20 points underwater. Quinnipiac has him 19 points underwater. With independents in the Quinnipiac poll, that number drops way further. He's 27 points underwater with independents in the Quinnipiac poll. I mean, if you want to kind of bottom line this means if we were a country dying of thirst on a desert island right now and Donald Trump was the one selling water, we wouldn't buy it. We'd figure out some other way around it. I mean, this president's cruelty may be the point, but it is not working for him. He is reviled. He's more unpopular at this point in his presidency than any president in U.S. history, and it is not close. And it is his signature issues that are dragging him down further and further every week. And so you're now seeing him try to not talk about immigrants so much, right? Now you're seeing him trying to change the subject, not just with new controversies, but with new offerings to the public. You see him trying to throw up all these little gimmicks to try to get something good to happen politically. He has no idea how to govern those, so they all just disappear as soon as they get floated, but he keeps trying them, right? A 10% cap on credit card interest. Remember that? Yeah, that it turns out is not happening. A rebate check for you from all the tariff money. Yeah, it turns out that is not happening either. Just like you're also not getting a rebate check from all the Doge money. That's not happening either. 50-year mortgages. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Trump's going to decertify all the planes made in Canada. Okay, yeah, that's not happening. That's not happening either. ICE is going to be all over the Super Bowl. Remember when they announced that over and over again? Yeah, we just had the Super Bowl. That didn't happen. These gimmicks are not happening. Nothing he says substantively is worth paying attention to because there's so rarely any connection between anything he says and A, the truth, or B, even anything he's planning to actually do. Watch what he does, not what he says. Because what he is doing and what the American people are judging him for is brutalizing and killing people in the streets, sending his masked secret police storming into people's homes without a warrant, arresting and menacing peaceful protesters, arresting and prosecuting journalists, turning away priests and nuns at the door of the detention facility. He is now trying to build himself a huge new set of camps to hold tens of thousands of people indefinitely without trial. And what do the American people think about it? About what he's actually doing? Well, even ahead of the next big No Kings protest, which is going to happen on March 28th, the American people are making clear that they are vociferously against basically everything he's doing. And they are letting him know it every single day. And so, yes, happy President's Day. Indeed, I mean it. We got a lot to get to tonight. Stay with us. This is from a new legal filing in federal court in Minnesota. Quote, Riley Kellermeyer, a 32-year-old biologist, was in South Minneapolis to observe and document Homeland Security activity. Kellermeyer saw an SUV that she believed to belong to immigration agents. She decided to follow the car to report its whereabouts and activities to the community. When Kellermeyer got home, a Homeland Security vehicle was pulled up next to her house, suggesting that the agents were waiting for her. Afraid for her safety, she decided not to stop at her home and kept driving. The DHS vehicle began following her. She decided to drive to a public place for safety and went to a parking lot. The DHS vehicle pulled in front of her to block her path. An agent rolled down the driver's side window. The agent screamed at Kellermeyer to stop effing following them and that Kellermeyer would be arrested if she continued to observe them. Here's another from the same Minnesota case, another account. Quote, Emily Belts, a 44-year-old Edina resident, was observing DHS activity in her neighborhood and followed a Homeland Security SUV into a parking lot. The SUV stopped suddenly and Belts stopped behind it. Someone leaned out of the SUV and photographed Belts. Belts started to drive away. The SUV then spun around and sped at Belts' car as if the SUV was going to run into Belts. Right before the SUV hit Belts, it braked hard. An agent leaned out of the SUV front passenger window and yelled, Emily, Emily, we're going to take you home. The agent then stated Belts' home address. Belts drove in the opposite direction. After driving about a block, Belts noticed that the SUV was following her. Terrified, she went to a restaurant and waited several hours before finally driving home. Those are two of dozens of sworn declarations by people observing or protesting ICE in Minnesota. MSNL has not independently verified these claims, but the ACLU collected more than 80 accounts like this from people who say Trump's federal agents violated their First Amendment rights. They systematically retaliated against people who were protesting against ICE or just trying to document what ICE or CBP was doing in Minnesota. That lawsuit includes a lot of just regular everyday Americans. It also includes journalists who they've been going after as well. 2 weeks ago on this show, you may remember us talking with an Emmy Award-winning independent journalist named Georgia Fort. She was arrested and charged in the same case where the federal government arrested and charged the former CNN anchor Don Lemon. You might remember us showing the dramatic and frankly disgusting footage of Trump's agents showing up at her house in the pre-dawn hours in masks to menace her and terrify her kids and ultimately take her into custody. We asked Ms. Fort to stay in touch as her case moves forward. Tomorrow is her arraignment, and we've asked her to be back with us tonight. Ahead of tomorrow's arraignment, Georgia Fort joins us once again here live now. Ms. Fort, thanks very much for joining us. I know tonight must be a pretty tense night for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me back, Rachel.
What should we expect to see at tomorrow's hearing and in the coming days? What are you preparing for?
Well, I've been told from my attorneys that tomorrow's hearing is going to be pretty procedural. I will have the opportunity to enter my plea, and I think it's going to move fairly quickly. But, you know, this is the week of my birthday, and so instead of focusing on creating, you know, plans to celebrate with my family and friends, our focus is on getting through tomorrow.
I know that there has been a lot of outcry over your arrest, the arrest of Don Lemon, who's obviously a very high-profile journalist, and there's a lot of concern. And one of the things we talked about when you were last here was whether or not that's translated materially into support for you in terms of weathering the legal cost and in terms of just handling the stress and the pressure of what this has meant. I wonder if that's changed at all over the last couple of weeks, or if you still feel like you're being sustained by people sympathizing with you and being angered by the way you're being targeted here.
Well, Rachel, I want to send a huge thank you to you and your viewers. After I was on last, was it 2 weeks ago, there was an outpouring of support. And so my concern, honestly, remains with those of the people who are charged in this situation, who are now in the media just becoming, you know, Don Lemon and others. There's other people who are affected by this, and you read stories of 2 other individuals who have been who have claims of their First Amendment right being impeded on, right? And so, as a journalist, those were the stories that I was here in Minnesota, where I'm from, that I was attempting to document over the period of, I would say, 3 weeks, very intensively since the fatal shooting of Renee Good, and now it does feel in a lot of ways like we are being muzzled. It is extremely difficult to continue reporting on something when you're listed as a defendant on the very story that you're reporting, right? And as a journalist, you would consider that to be an ethical dilemma. But there are only 2 people who can factually and objectively say what happened on that day, and now we're facing charges.
Georgia Fort, you are known for your aggressive and even-handed reporting in Minneapolis, your comprehensive knowledge of the politics and sort of nooks and crannies of the Minneapolis and Minnesota news environment. The journalistic community misses you while you were having to contend with these other challenges, but we know you'll be back. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Independent journalist Georgia Fort. All right, we got more news ahead. Stay with us. This was Concord, New Hampshire yesterday at the state capitol. We the people say no ICE in Merrimack. No ICE in Merrimack. Also, good people never built concentration camps. This is a protest over the weekend against a Trump prison camp that they're trying to build in Merrimack, about a half-hour south of the state capital in New Hampshire. Amid all the pushback they're seeing against this in the state, the Trump administration sent over to the New Hampshire state government some reading material all about how actually nobody should oppose this. This is going to be great for the people of New Hampshire. What they sent over said, quote, the Department of Homeland Security plans to make a major economic investment in a new detention facility in Merrimack, New Hampshire. They didn't dot the I in Merrimack with a smiley face, but it kind of seemed like they were trying to. They brag about how the camp will, this prison camp will bring a ton of jobs to the state, to New Hampshire. They write about all the positive ripple effects this Trump prison camp will have on the, quote, Oklahoma economy. Wait a minute. This new prison camp in southern New Hampshire is going to be a boon for the great people of Oklahoma? Why does it say that?